Oprah's coming to Channel 8, beginning Monday, September 6th.
They're getting ready for the hurricane as Emily takes aim at the East Coast. In the Mideast, talk of a breakthrough between Israel and the Palestine Liberation Organization. And on Focus tonight, reading, writing, and paddling, the debate over corporal punishment.
This is NBC Nightly News, reported by Mike Schneider.
And a good evening to you. We begin this Sunday evening with the hurricane watch tonight. Hurricane Emily is clearly taking aim at the east coast of the United States, and officials are putting out the word to be prepared. Emily is off the coast of the Carolinas right now. It's packing winds somewhere in the neighborhood of 85 miles an hour, and we're told it's moving to the northwest. That does make it a threat to land. And a hurricane watch now has been declared for an area stretching from just north of Charleston, South Carolina, all the way north to the Delaware-Maryland border. Places that are clearly no strangers to hurricanes. It was about 4 years ago that a storm by the name of Hugo, a terrible hurricane, tore through the Carolinas, killing some 28 Americans, going very far inland. Forecasters don't expect Emily to pack that kind of punch. But this is a hurricane. It is a dangerous storm under virtually any circumstance, and it's not anything to be taken lightly at all, because storms are capable of expanding, and storms are capable of shifting in a variety of directions. How dangerous is this storm? Let's check in right now with the man whose job it is to track the storms and issue the warnings, the director of the National Hurricane Center in Coral Gables, Florida, Dr. Bob Sheets.
Hi.
Bob, good to speak with you again.
Yes.
Give us a sense of what we're talking about right now in terms of the immediate danger of this storm.
Well, right now it's got swells that are approaching the coast right now, and of course it's going to move on this west-northwest course, we think. Some of the winds will be moving along that coast later tomorrow and the next day, and we expect the center to come very close to the North Carolina coast by sometime on noon on Tuesday.
Now, before it gets there, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, but it has to cross the Gulf Stream, and that adds the opportunity to pick up some strength. How strong do you think the storm will be when it makes landfall?
We're forecasting it'll be a strong Category 2 hurricane, somewhere around 100 mile per hour winds, plus or minus 10 or 20 miles per hour. We're not all that good in predicting those kind of strengths, and could, on an outside chance, maybe even get to a Category 3 hurricane, depending on how long it stayed over those warmer waters.
I've heard you say many times in the past that one of the most dangerous items in any hurricane is the storm surge, the water it pushes ashore. What kind of storm surge do we expect here?
If it's a Category 2 hurricane, as we're forecasting, we can have 5 to 10 feet of surge all along the Outer Banks, up here in the Albemarle and Pamlico Sounds, and maybe up even into the Chesapeake as it moves on a more northerly course as it nears the coast.
Now, you have a hurricane watch in effect right now. You could go to a warning when?
We expect to go to a warning for some portion of that area tomorrow morning. In other words, that we're looking at the storm to come into this area. We try to provide about 24 hours of lead time. It may come here, turn inland toward the north fairly rapidly, slightly inland, or maybe right along the coast or slightly off the coast. Now, if it takes this scenario, then we may have problems up in New England. So we're advising people all along this coast to continue to monitor what this storm is going to do over the next 24 hours.
And I'm sure we'll be hearing from you regularly over the next 24 hours. Bob, appreciate it. Dr. Bob Sheets, the National Hurricane Center, just outside Miami, Florida. One of the towns, by the way, under the hurricane watch tonight is Wrightsville Beach. That's in North Carolina, and that's where we find correspondent David Bloom tonight. David, give us a sense of what's going on in that area.
Well, the residents of Wrightsville Beach find themselves right in the heart of this hurricane watch zone, with Emily churning about 400 miles to the southeast. That meant this afternoon people were boarding up their homes, a clear sign that they're taking these watches seriously, possible warnings tomorrow, and preparing for the possibility even of an evacuation as early as tomorrow.
Do you have any sense that evacuation orders will come at any specific time, and how many people actually would have to get out of there?
Well, for example, on the Outer Banks of North Carolina, a little bit further north, there are 150,000 people on the northern half of that. On the southern half, near Ocracoke, they're already talking about maybe issuing evacuations as early as 8 a.m. tomorrow morning.
David, you've been around hurricanes before, and you've seen how people reacted. How would you characterize the way people are looking at the approach of this storm and how seriously they're taking the risks here?
There's always a sense of complacency, the sense that it will not come here. But I'll tell you this, when we saw people boarding up their homes today, that's a first clear indication that they are taking these warnings quite seriously.
All right, David, thank you very much. Correspondent David Bloom for us this night in Wrightsville Beach, that's in North Carolina. In South Carolina, the people of Charleston are watching Emily drift to the northwest, and they're hoping that she just keeps on going. They know from experience what a hurricane can do. NBC's Bob Dotson is in Charleston tonight.
There are places in Charleston that still haven't been rebuilt from Hurricane Hugo back in 1989. That storm caused $7 billion worth of damage. Even the land hasn't healed.
Charleston Mayor Joe Riley says waiting for Emily is a bit like scheduling a serious and very painful operation. You've survived one before, but now the doctor comes back in and says, we may have to do this again.
4 years ago, the Pickett family tried to ride out the last hurricane to hit near here. Bayard Pickett, a retired Marine colonel, was not worried. He had survived 4. But during the eye of the storm, they made a startling discovery. Water was higher than it had been in 30 years. The Picketts fled.
We've got to go before the wind picks up anymore.
The next morning, his neighborhood looked like a battlefield without bodies.
I never expected it to be this bad.
This time, the old Marine says he will call retreat a lot quicker.
And no question about it. Another backup flashlight.
What's different about this hurricane is that many of those in harm's way are already prepared, days before Emily is due to hit land.
Did I make a mistake?
Emily may slide up the coast from Colonel Pickett's house, but the old Marine is not lulled by the stillness around him.
I was sitting on the porch looking at across the harbor, and the sun was going down and was big, bright, and golden, and I thought about the golden pond, and I said, what a beautiful view, and how quiet it is. But I said, within 48 hours, I said, this could all change, and it could be devastation.
In someone's neighborhood. Bob Dotson, NBC News, Mount Pleasant, South Carolina.
Meantime, remnants from another hurricane named Hillary are giving Iowa something it does not need, a lot of rain. And tonight that means high water is more than just a bad memory. It's back. NBC's Jim Cummins has that story.
There have been heavy rains in Iowa this weekend, especially in Des Moines. 4 to 10 inches in some places. Overloaded sewer systems drove rivers and streams out of their banks, trapped motorists on streets and highways. By this afternoon, many parts of the city were underwater again.
At this time, Des Moines PD advises to remove all vehicles from the area.
And in low-lying areas, the authorities urged residents to evacuate their homes and businesses. The mayor appealed for help.
Ask all of those that are able to go to our public works yard at 20th and Scott to fill sandbags, and those will be distributed in the areas that need the sandbags.
There were plenty of volunteers in the suburb of West Des Moines filling bags left over from the floods earlier this summer. Those floods contaminated the Des Moines waterworks and knocked out running water for 250,000 people for most of July. Work crews are reinforcing the levees around the waterworks this time, and waterworks manager L.D. McMullen is the voice of reassurance.
Currently, we could take a flood somewhere in a magnitude of about 2 to 3 feet higher than what we saw in July of this year, so we feel like the treatment plant is pretty well protected.
But many other places are not. The water here is still rising, and there is even more rain in the forecast. Jim Cummins, NBC News, West Des Moines, Iowa.
And as we continue for you on Nightly News, the Israelis and the Palestinians on the verge of a breakthrough. Maybe. President Clinton talks about that as he prepares to tackle that and other big issues on this, the last day of his summer vacation. And on Focus, should schools spare the rod to discipline children? That and a good deal more straight ahead.
Everyone's looking for a good value these days. I'm no different. I buy bargain brands for some things, but when it's medicine I put in my body, especially a pain reliever, then I choose Advil. My doctor recommended it by name, and I've had it work on enough headaches to know it really does the job. The price? Advil can be only pennies per tablet, and if that's all it costs to help get rid of my pain, I call that real value. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
Want a really nutritious cereal? You should be eating Kellogg's Complete Bran Flakes.
The usual place.
Complete Bran Flakes has twice the fiber of that cereal.
I'll try that one.
Kellogg's Complete Bran Flakes has twice the vitamins and minerals. The only one with high fiber plus 14 vitamins and minerals, including beta-carotene.
I'll have Complete Bran Flakes.
High fiber plus vitamins and minerals. Kellogg's Complete Bran Flakes.
Israel's cabinet meets tomorrow in a special session, and it is expected to approve a plan to give Palestinians some self-rule in some of the occupied territories. That would be historic. It could end decades of bloodshed, if it happens. NBC's Martin Fletcher is in Tel Aviv.
Some Israeli cabinet members today threw caution to the winds.
For the first time, we can speak on a timetable on a short period of time to a solution between the Palestinians and Israel.
There are still obstacles, but the cabinet was briefed on an agreement of principle between Israel and the PLO to give Palestinians in the occupied Gaza Strip and the West Bank town of Jericho limited self-rule. Limited, but more autonomy than they've ever had before. A first major step towards peace. If the deal goes ahead, said the Minister of Health.
I think it's a major breakthrough, and it's a very historical moment in the relationship between the Palestinians and the Jewish nation after 100 years of conflict, of bloodshed and hatred and violence.
Tomorrow, the cabinet will vote on the Gaza-Jericho proposal. A unanimous approval is expected. Then the Israeli negotiators will begin the peace talks in Washington Tuesday, with a mandate to sign a deal with the Palestinians. Israeli leaders warn tonight that although the Palestinians have agreed in private to the Gaza-Jericho proposal, that's a very different thing from signing a deal in public. Whether there really is a major breakthrough will be clear only when the Israeli and Palestinian negotiators meet in Washington in the peace talks later this week. Martin Fletcher, NBC News, Tel Aviv.
It's back to Washington tonight for President Clinton. Tonight, his week and a half on Martha's Vineyard is over. His vacation is history, and now he hopes to make some history back at the White House. Here's NBC's Tom Pettit.
Even as he was ending his vacation today, the president had to deal with the real world of foreign policy. He told reporters he's hopeful about the Israeli peace talks.
We're working at it. We've been working at it steadily for some time now.
The family leisurely toured the studio of the famous portrait photographer Alfred Eisenstadt. On the radio yesterday, he sounded a bit as if he really didn't want to leave Martha's Vineyard.
So in the quiet of this August day, as we reflect on what's happened over the last several months, we can say that together we've made a good beginning.
Now that he proved he can take time off, he is ready to take on Congress again.
Our biggest challenge is to reform health care. Another urgent task for our country is to pass the North American Free Trade Agreement.
But big labor unions call free trade with Mexico a threat.
The threat of jobs moving to Mexico, the threat that if we don't lower our wages or we don't moderate our collective bargaining demands in union enterprises or whatever.
It allows our companies to keep more jobs at home and sell more products abroad.
We understand that it's still President Clinton's obligation to get it passed, but he can count on us for support.
Republican Bob Dole and other advocates of the NAFTA treaty took an Air Force jet to Mexico City today to demonstrate bipartisanship and to solicit support from Mexican lawmakers. But number one priority at the White House will be health care reform, with a collision of special interest groups.
The word revolution scares me, and we certainly don't want a revolution. We want health system reform.
Clinton, needing all the help he can get, starts out tomorrow morning with an interfaith prayer breakfast. Tom Pettit, NBC News, Washington.
10 Nightly News will continue in a moment.
Imagine a wonder drug that could help reduce minor arthritis pain so the Panthers wouldn't lose their star shortstop. One that could relieve headaches so more boys could come out to play. A drug that studies show reduces the risk of second heart attacks. Imagine a drug that holds answers to all these ailments so families could gather for years to come. A wonder drug? Yes, it's genuine Bayer aspirin. The wonder drug that works wonders.
Talking now with Margot, who says that she will not freeze with Gladlock zipper bags.
No, I like my zipper bags.
Well, we sent a remote crew out to your house, Margot, where your husband, Jerry, is about to replace the new throw pillows on your lovely sofa with either your bag full of chili or the Gladlock bag full of chili. Of course, only Gladlock has the yellow and blue make green seal, so you know it's closed. Your bag doesn't have a green seal.
Use the Gladlock,
I
Jerry.
can't hear you.
The Gladlock.
There's something wrong. I can't hear what she's saying.
Use the Gladlock.
Oh, wait, be careful. I only hear...
When it really counts, only Gladlock has the yellow and blue make green seal.
Some people are fussy about their mouth, and some people are very fussy. For them, there's Rembrandt, the low abrasion whitening toothpaste. Over 50,000 dentists have recommended it. And Rembrandt mouth refreshing rinse. 100% alcohol-free, 100% delicious. A splendid way to fight bad breath. For the best for your mouth, there's only one Rembrandt.
This week on Today, violence at the mall. Are you putting your children at risk? We'll also talk with Lonnie Anderson and Jay Leno. So join us this week and see what a difference today makes.
Tonight on Focus, students and discipline. For many years in many schools, problem students often faced corporal punishment, a spanking or other form of discipline like that in school. One study estimates that beatings during the 1986 school year alone caused as many as 20,000 students to need medical care. But paddling still has supporters. NBC Star Jones here with more on that tonight. Star?
Mike, a number of the nation's school districts are reviewing their policies on corporal punishment. I went back to my home school district in North Carolina to see what the policy is there. School buses arriving, flags unfurled and flying, book bags packed and ready to go. So begins the first day of school. In Goldsboro, North Carolina, students are given the lecture.
Principals and teachers may use reasonable force, including corporal punishment, which is spanking.
And many parents, teachers, and principals believe that can be an effective tool.
I don't think corporal punishment is for everyone. And you may say, well, that's not fair. I think it's fair if that will stop the undesirable behavior.
Opponents of corporal punishment point to a few cases that show paddling can leave a child bruised, bloodied, and some experts say traumatized for life. Is paddling ever appropriate?
Never. My view, which is somewhat radical, I understand, is no child ever has to be hit. Corporal punishment is an ineffective way to change behavior. It's counterproductive, and it leads to abuse. It's absolutely not necessary. There are lots of positive alternatives to disciplining children, and whenever you give the people the power to inflict pain on another, it's abused. So we should not.
Many states agree. 24 states have stopped the use of corporal punishment, and opponents have attempted bans in several more. So, what is punishment enough? You agree. Local school districts find themselves experimenting. Goldsboro schools have elaborate guidelines outlining when, where, and how a child may be punished. And they place the decision to paddle or not to paddle in the hands of Goldsboro's parents. Are you going to opt in?
I will opt in. I have built a good rapport with the teacher, and I trust them to teach my child. Why would I not trust them to discipline them if it was necessary?
I've heard teachers say, if you take away corporal punishment, then you've taken away a tool.
The children who are the most ill-behaved are the ones who are coming from the homes where they live with violence day in and day out. And school is their sanctuary. To take away that sanctuary where they're warm, they're fed, and they're tolerated at the minimum. No, I don't believe in it.
The problem centers around the family structure and trying to get more parents involved, because I don't care what discipline system you use, if you don't have the involvement of parents, I don't think it's going to be fully effective.
That gets agreement all around, but the disagreement over the use of the paddle continues, worrying parents, plaguing schools, and threatening the bottoms of kids. There is a willingness to get parents involved in the discipline process within schools, but each state is different, each school district within the state is different, and the policy can even vary from school to school. With the beginning of the school year, now is the time to find out what the policy is in your child's school.
Yeah, now. Better late than never.
That's right.
All right, Star, thanks very much. And when Nightly News continues for you on this Sunday evening, a power struggle within a country with an awful lot of nuclear weapons.
Code for 148, not seen, having solid, not seen. 91, go ahead. You need 14, go ahead. You two, even 30,
Of all the things around your house that need batteries, there's one thing that needs a good, fresh battery most of all. See your Allstate agent for a free home fire safety brochure. And please, check the battery in your smoke detector often.
Yeah, it tastes like...
It's different. Tasty, a little bit spicy, but not too spicy.
You can taste the subtlety.
V8 tastes like V8.
What subtlety? Very good. I can't open it. Just kidding.
Very vegetable-y.
Is vegetable-y a word? I don't know, but...
Tomato, celery, carrots.
A union of vegetables.
V8's got more flavor than tomato juice.
I'd rather have a girl.
I don't think it's possible.
It tastes like...
V8.
That's it.
He packs heavy. She packs light. She wears silk. He wears wool. He's comfortable at 68 degrees. She prefers 72. Good thing they own a Buick Park Avenue with available dual-zone climate control. 72 for her, 68 for him. Too bad everything isn't as accommodating as Park Avenue. From Buick, the new symbol for quality in America.
Who makes the best Caesar dressing? Introducing Gourmet Caesar from Good Seasons. Real cheese is blended with classic spices for a fresh, authentic Caesar taste. New Gourmet Caesar.
Hey, folks all over America trust their homes to Ace Paint. Here's why. We make our own. It's premium quality. Your satisfaction's guaranteed.
And now get Ace 7-Star, our best flat latex house paint for only $11.99 a gallon.
Hey, Ace is America's place for quality paint.
An innocent boy is convicted of murder. His only hope is his father. Based on a true story, Martin Sheen, guilty until proven innocent. NBC Tonight.
Lonnie Dutton, he was murdered in his sleep. The suspects, his own kids. The shocking story of what went wrong. Tom Brokaw, Katie Couric. Now, NBC Wednesday.
One of Europe's biggest and potentially most powerful countries also happens to be one of its newest, Ukraine. It used to be part of the Soviet Union, but when the Kremlin fell, Ukraine inherited the world's third largest nuclear stockpile. Now it has a lot of bombs, a lot of missiles, and a lot of political problems. NBC's Bob Abernathy reports.
The president of Ukraine proudly inspects his intercontinental ballistic missiles. Ukraine has more nuclear weapons than Britain and France combined, more than any country in the world except the U.S. and Russia. Even with the Cold War over, Ukraine's missiles are still targeted at the United States, and Ukraine is in no hurry to disarm. The breakup of the Soviet Union left nuclear weapons in Russia, Kazakhstan, Belarus, and Ukraine. In Ukraine, 1,900 nuclear warheads and bombs, 2 bomber bases, and 176 intercontinental missiles. Last year, Ukraine promised to give up all its nuclear weapons, but it has not. Ukraine sees nuclear power as a valuable bargaining chip in its campaign for Western security guarantees and massive financial aid. This summer, Ukraine began dismantling 10 of its missiles, and that triggered $175 million in U.S. aid. But Ukrainian officials, such as the commander of this bomber base, speak of the need for billions more.
We won't give up this equipment to anyone without a price.
Although the presidents of Ukraine and Russia greet each other like brothers, they have sharp disagreements. Ukraine fears Russian power and wants protection against it. The technical ability to launch Ukrainian missiles still rests in Moscow, but Ukraine says it can now block Moscow's commands, and it probably could develop the codes to launch the missiles on its own. But if Ukraine did that, Russians at an underground command south of Moscow would know instantly, and Russia has warned the U.S. it might have to take preemptive action. Ukraine has an unstable government and such runaway inflation, coal miners in June struck in massive protest. So what Ukraine and the world face is a dangerous combination of social unrest, national pride, tension with Russia, and nearly 2,000 nuclear weapons under disputed control. Bob Abernathy, NBC News, Moscow.
Turns out the United States is not the only country this summer to suffer badly from heavy flooding. There is word tonight that a dam has broken in a remote western section of China, and the flooding after that has killed more than 220 people and wiped out several villages. Coming up next on Nightly News, we're going to have a look at the man who's getting ready to run the FBI.
It might be worth some very special effort to try to...
To be a blue ribbon champion, you've got to get up pretty early. And helping Jan get a jump on her day is decaffeinated Folgers Crystals with that great waking up aroma. Aroma that starts with mountain-grown beans, fresh brewed, then crystallized. Coffee darker than the other leading decaffeinated. Darkness that signals all the eye-opening aroma and rich taste to come. Decaffeinated Folgers Crystals.
The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
They're rambunctious, full of energy, and in constant motion. They're kids. Unfortunately, not all kids are like this.
That's why Kellogg's Rice Krispies, you know, the cereal that talks, has something really important to say. From now until September the 5th, every time you buy a box of Rice Krispies, Kellogg's will give $1 to the Muscular Dystrophy Association. That's right, $1 from Kellogg's every time you buy Rice Krispies.
Because someday we'd like to see Jerry's kids just be kids.
Some people are fussy about their mouth, and some people are very fussy. For them, there's Rembrandt, the low abrasion whitening toothpaste. Over 50,000 dentists have recommended it. And Rembrandt mouth refreshing rinse. 100% alcohol-free, 100% delicious. A splendid way to fight bad breath. For the best for your mouth, there's only one Rembrandt.
Why Centrum Silver? Because you're over 50 and you're just hitting your stride. Centrum Silver vitamins. Because the latest scientific research about changing nutritional needs after 50 is built in. Centrum Silver. It's a great time to be silver.
He owes a fortune in fines in the savings and loan scandal. So why is he living the high life while you have to pay? Past due.
An all-new Dateline NBC.
Tuesday.
The FBI is getting a new director this week, Louis Freeh, former FBI agent, former federal judge in New York, and even before one day on the job, Freeh's desk is already overflowing. Pete Williams reports.
At the age of 43, Louis Freeh will become the FBI's 5th confirmed director. The first, J. Edgar Hoover, ran the agency for nearly 50 years, making it professional but trampling on the privacy of those he disliked. After the clouded final days under William Sessions, the FBI is eager for new leadership. Judge Freeh's immediate challenges will be the issues left unresolved under Sessions. Among them, how to handle sieges like the one in Waco. A few weeks from now, the Justice Department is expected to release the results of its investigation into what happened there. What to say about the option, now under consideration, to fold the Drug Enforcement Administration into the FBI? How to continue bringing more blacks into the ranks and the leadership? Some FBI agents are challenging the current plan. And how to handle growing problems of illegal immigration and international terrorism? The Attorney General says she'll talk to Judge Freeh about whether the FBI needs more agents to respond to these new challenges.
I've had the feeling that in the past, agency heads have not met to develop a national strategy as to how to deploy limited federal resources in the wisest way possible. And as soon as he is on board and settled, this is one effort that I want to undertake.
An investigative reporter who's just written a book about the FBI says the answer is obvious.
When you consider all the different kinds of crimes that the FBI gets involved with, terrorism, espionage, white-collar crime, you name it, and the fact that a lot of those cases can take years to work on and require hundreds of agents sometimes. 10,300 agents really is not very much.
FBI officials are hoping Louis Freeh gets off to a quick start. As a former agent, he already knows the culture. The only question is whether he has the leadership skills to run such a large agency. Pete Williams, NBC News, Washington.